Sade Adu, born Helen Folasade Adu on January 16, 1959, in Ibadan, Nigeria, is a legendary British-Nigerian singer, songwriter, and record producer, known for her distinctive voice, elegant style, and timeless music. Sade's life and career are a compelling story of cultural fusion, quiet resilience, and artistic integrity that has captivated global audiences for decades. Sade was born to a Nigerian father, Adebisi Adu, an economics professor, and an English mother, Anne Hayes, a district nurse. Her parents met while studying in London but returned to Nigeria, where Sade was born. However, their marriage did not last long, and her mother returned to England with Sade and her older brother Bonji when she was just 4 years old. They eventually settled in Colchester, Essex. Growing up in a working-class British town, Sade experienced the complexities of being a biracial child in a predominantly white society. Despite this, she developed an early love for music and art, drawing inspiration from the soul and jazz records her parents played and the fashion-forward world around her. At the age of 18, she moved to London to study fashion design at St. Martin's School of Art, one of the UK's most prestigious art schools. Although her initial focus was fashion, Sade's path soon veered toward music. After graduating, she began working as a fashion designer and model. However, it was her side involvement with a band called Pride that introduced her to the world of professional music. Initially joining as a backup singer, Sade quickly stood out thanks to her soulful voice, cool demeanor, and magnetic stage presence. Her performance of a song she co-wrote called Smooth Operator began drawing attention, signaling her potential as a solo artist. In 1983, with the support of fellow bandmates Stuart Matthewman, Andrew Hale, and Paul Denman, Sade decided to break away from Pride to form their own group, simply named Sade. The decision marked the beginning of a new chapter, one that would soon see her transition from the underground London music scene to global stardom. The newly formed band began recording demos and performing live, quickly building a loyal following. Their blend of soul, jazz, and quiet storm music stood out in the heavily synthesized and upbeat pop era of the early 1980s. Sade's minimalist, refined approach resonated with listeners seeking something more intimate and emotional. Sade's debut album, Diamond Life, was released in 1984 and became an instant classic. The album featured hits such as Smooth Operator, Your Love is King, and Hang On to Your Love. It was a commercial success, selling over 6 million copies worldwide and earning critical acclaim. The band's style, sleek yet emotionally rich, redefined contemporary soul music and introduced a new kind of sophistication to the mainstream music industry. From her humble beginnings in Nigeria to her creative exploration in the streets of London, Sade Adu's early career laid the foundation for one of the most iconic and enduring musical legacies in modern history. Her quiet confidence, unique voice, and ability to transcend genres made her a star unlike any other, graceful, mysterious, and always true to herself. The late 1980s and early 1990s marked the zenith of Sade Adu's influence and creative brilliance, a period when her voice, image, and artistry became synonymous with cool sophistication and emotional authenticity. Following the resounding success of her debut album Diamond Life in 1984 and the critically acclaimed follow-up Promise in 1985, Sade Adu and her band, known simply as Sade, found themselves at the epicenter of a global musical phenomenon. Her third studio album, Stronger Than Pride, 1988, further cemented her status as a musical icon. Unlike the jazz-infused soul of the earlier records, Stronger Than Pride ventured into more sensual and introspective territory, with tracks like Paradise, Nothing Can Come Between Us, and the title track showcasing her sultry delivery and poetic lyricism. The album not only enjoyed commercial success, topping charts and selling millions of copies worldwide, but it also demonstrated a maturing artistry that resonated deeply with fans across continents. As the band toured internationally, Sade's image, minimalist, enigmatic, and effortlessly elegant, captured the imagination of the fashion world and cultural tastemakers. Her style, characterized by slicked-back hair, gold hoop earrings, and androgynous fashion, became a trademark that influenced an entire generation. Yet beyond the aesthetics, it was the emotional restraint in her music, where every note and lyric carried profound meaning, that distinguished Sade from her peers. Her music was the soundtrack of quiet heartbreaks, midnight reflections, and unspoken resilience. In 1992, Sade released Love Deluxe, an album that many critics and fans regard as her masterpiece. Songs like No Ordinary Love, Kiss of Life, and Cherish the Day exemplified her ability to fuse soul, jazz, and ambient textures into an ethereal sound that felt both timeless and deeply personal. No Ordinary Love, in particular, became an anthem of longing and complexity, earning a Grammy Award and enduring as one of the most recognizable tracks in her repertoire. The haunting music video and emotionally restrained yet powerful vocal performance reflected the raw intensity beneath her composed exterior. The early 90s also saw her taking on more global and experimental influences, subtly integrating world music elements and atmospheric instrumentation into her sound. Sade's music during this period defied the changing trends of the industry. Grunge, pop, and hip-hop may have dominated radio, but her albums maintained a steady, devoted audience who appreciated her refusal to chase fleeting popularity. Rather than releasing new music every year, Sade chose quality over quantity, focusing on creating works of lasting value. Despite her immense popularity, Sade remained notoriously private. She rarely gave interviews, seldom appeared in tabloid headlines, and deliberately distanced herself from the celebrity lifestyle. This mystery only added to her allure. Her reclusiveness was not an act, but a genuine expression of her need to protect her art and personal life from intrusion. During this golden period, Sade Adu also became a symbol of empowerment for women, especially women of color. Navigating creative industries, she managed to assert control over her image, music, and career at a time when many female artists were heavily shaped by producers and marketing executives. Her calm defiance of industry expectations, combined with her consistent artistic vision, offered an alternative model of success, one based on authenticity, integrity, and long-term artistry. By the mid-1990s, Sade had become more than a musician. She was a cultural icon. Her songs continued to chart internationally, and her albums enjoyed strong sales even without the aggressive promotion typical of the era. As the music industry grew more commercialized and celebrity-driven, Sade's quiet, poetic presence remained a reassuring constant for millions. In sum, the peak era of Sade Adu is defined not by explosive controversy or media saturation, but by an enduring body of work that continues to speak to human vulnerability, love, and strength. Her voice, soulful, smoky, and utterly unique, left a profound mark on the music world. The late 80s and early 90s were more than just successful years for Sade. They were the time when she redefined what it meant to be a true artist in the modern age. Despite her ethereal voice and the aura of serenity that often surrounds her music, Sade Adu has not been immune to the crises and controversies that accompany a life lived in the public eye. Unlike many of her contemporaries, Sade has always kept a low profile, shunning the glare of the media spotlight. However, beneath the surface of her polished public image, she has weathered personal storms that shaped both her art and her humanity. One of the most significant personal challenges Sade faced was the immense pressure of fame itself. After the massive success of her early albums like Diamond Life and Promise, Sade found herself struggling to reconcile her introverted nature with the relentless demands of the music industry. The media, at times, criticized her for being reclusive or distant, failing to grasp that her privacy was a form of self-preservation. Her long hiatuses between albums, often spanning up to a decade, sparked endless speculation, some accusing her of losing relevance, others questioning her commitment to music. But these breaks were not acts of negligence. They were necessary respites for a deeply introspective artist. The 1990s brought with them more personal trials. Sade endured a painful divorce from Spanish film director Carlos Pliego, a relationship that had once seemed stable and grounding. The breakdown of her marriage left a profound emotional scar, one that subtly found its way into the themes of heartbreak and longing, woven through her later music. During this period, she also moved to Jamaica to escape the pressures of the spotlight and to find peace. Though the move was largely a personal decision, tabloids speculated wildly, spinning narratives of addiction, depression, and career implosion. Sade, characteristically silent, refused to dignify the rumors with a response. Another deeply personal and largely misunderstood chapter in her life involves her only child, Isaac Theo Adu. Assigned female at birth, Isaac began transitioning in his 20s, a process Sade supported with quiet, unwavering love. While Sade never made grand public statements about her child's journey, Isaac has openly spoken about how his mother stood by him during every step, calling her the greatest woman alive. Still, this brought a rare level of public scrutiny to Sade's family life, with tabloids occasionally attempting to exploit the story for sensational headlines. Yet again, Sade's dignified silence served as a powerful statement in itself, choosing love over spectacle. While Sade never engaged in scandals or public feuds, her quiet resistance to celebrity culture has at times been interpreted as aloofness. In an age where overexposure is often mistaken for relevance, Sade's decision to operate on her own terms has been both criticized and admired. Her refusal to chase trends or bend to the commercial whims of the industry has occasionally led to friction with record labels and management teams. But for Sade, artistic authenticity has always taken precedence over fame or fortune. In sum, the crises and controversies in Sade Adu's life are not defined by tabloid fodder or public meltdowns, but rather by deeply human struggles, the toll of fame on a sensitive soul, the pain of lost love, and the quiet strength required to support a transitioning child in a judgmental world. Through it all, Sade remained a figure of grace, choosing solitude over spectacle, silence over noise, and integrity over popularity. It is perhaps this quiet defiance, more than anything, that has cemented her as an icon, not just of music, but of resilience. After a prolonged absence from the limelight, Sade Adu's return to music was not just a professional resurgence. It was a deeply personal transformation. Following her withdrawal from the public eye after the success of her 2000 album Lovers Rock, Sade retreated into a life of privacy and introspection. While fans speculated about her whereabouts, she was living quietly in Gloucestershire, England, focused on raising her daughter, disgrounding herself in domestic life, and recovering from emotional and industry-related fatigue. For Sade, this time was not a disappearance, but a necessary retreat, a form of self-preservation in an industry that often demands more than artists can sustainably give. Her reappearance in 2010 with the album Soldier of Love was nothing short of a triumphant return. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart, proving that her absence had only heightened her mystique and solidified her timeless appeal. Soldier of Love was darker, more defiant, and emotionally rawer than her previous works. It was clear that during her time away, Sade had not only endured personal transformation, but had also evolved artistically. Tracks like The Moon in the Sky and the title track Soldier of Love reflected a woman who had battled inner demons, lost illusions, and emerged stronger. Her voice even more resonant with experience and emotional intelligence. Unlike many of her contemporaries who rely on constant reinvention or media visibility, Sade's strategy was rooted in rarity and authenticity. She returned only when she had something meaningful to say, and her fans appreciated that. The critical acclaim for Soldier of Love proved that Sade's artistry transcended trends. Her music still held the same hypnotic allure that had defined her earlier albums, but with a new depth that resonated with listeners facing their own trials and reinventions. Outside of music, Sade continued to show quiet courage and compassion. She became more open about the challenges of parenthood, especially in supporting her transgender son, Isaac Theo. In a rare show of public affection, Isaac shared his gratitude to his mother for her unwavering love during his gender transition, a gesture that revealed Sade's deeply nurturing and accepting spirit, and her quiet strength as a mother in navigating unfamiliar emotional terrain. Despite pressures from the industry to tour or release more music, Sade has remained intentionally selective, prioritizing integrity over output. Still, she has left her mark sporadically in powerful ways, contributing the hauntingly beautiful track Flower of the Universe to Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time in 2018, reminding the world that her voice, even in small doses, could still stir the soul. Her journey of rebirth is a testament to the idea that true artistry doesn't fade with time. It matures, deepens, and becomes even more profound. Sade Adu didn't just return to music. She returned to herself, fortified by silence, healed by time, and redefined by life's experiences. Her comeback was never about recapturing former glory but about embracing evolution. And in doing so, she reminded her audience, and perhaps herself, that there is immense beauty in re-emergence. Sade Adu's legacy transcends the confines of genre and time. Often described as one of the most enigmatic and enduring figures in modern music, her influence can be felt far beyond the smooth jazz and soul-inflected sound she helped define. With a voice that is both haunting and soothing, and a lyrical approach rooted in emotional clarity and poetic restraint, Sade crafted a musical identity that has become iconic, one that shaped generations of artists across genres. Sade's contributions to the world of music are not simply a product of commercial success or awards, although she has earned both in abundance. Her influence lies in her ability to create timeless art, music that speaks across cultures, backgrounds, and eras. From her debut with the band's album Diamond Life in 1984 to later classics like Love Deluxe and Lovers Rock, Sade has consistently demonstrated an unwavering dedication to artistic integrity. Her work avoids the superficial trends of the moment and instead leans into a deeper, more enduring sensibility, marked by introspection, minimalism, and elegance. Her unique fusion of soul, jazz, R&B, and soft rock paved the way for what would become known as quiet storm music, a genre that has continued to thrive in late-night radio programming and streaming playlists. Artists such as Maxwell, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, and Alicia Keys have all cited Sade as an influence, not only musically but also in how she has conducted her career. Sade's insistence on privacy, creative control, and long gaps between projects challenged the industry's fast-paced demands and showed that substance and longevity often mean saying no more than yes. Beyond her sonic impact, Sade's image and personal style have inspired generations. Her understated fashion, marked by oversized suits, high ponytails, red lips, and hoop earrings, has become synonymous with effortless cool. Designers, photographers, and visual artists frequently reference her look as an archetype of natural elegance and powerful femininity. In a world saturated by spectacle and oversharing, Sade's poise and mystique stand as a countercultural example of how silence can be just as commanding as sound. Sade Adu has also made an indelible mark on the global stage, particularly as a Nigerian-born British woman in an industry that has often marginalized black women and women of color. She broke boundaries, not just through her chart-topping success, but by representing a complex cultural identity with pride and depth. Her presence was, and remains, deeply empowering for countless fans who see in her a reflection of diasporic strength, grace under pressure, and quiet rebellion. Even in her absence, Sade's music has never stopped resonating. Her catalog continues to be rediscovered by younger generations, sampled by hip-hop artists, and reinterpreted by emerging singers. Songs like Smooth Operator, No Ordinary Love, and By Your Side have entered the pantheon of contemporary classics, and their emotional resonance remains undiminished decades after their release. Her rare reappearances, whether through new songs or brief tours, are treated like cultural events, reminding the world of her singular aura. In many ways, Sade represents an ideal that is increasingly rare in today's music industry. The belief that true artistry takes time, that mystery is a form of power, and that vulnerability and strength can and often must coexist. In summation, Sade Adu's legacy is not just one of musical brilliance, but of quiet revolution. She has taught the world that longevity comes from authenticity, that style is inseparable from substance, and that even in an industry built on noise, it is often the softest voices that echo the longest. Despite her luminous career and enduring mystique, Sade Adu has not lived a life untouched by sorrow. Beneath her graceful demeanor and velvet voice lies a woman who has carried personal pain with quiet dignity. Among the many trials she has faced, perhaps the greatest sorrow in Sade Adu's life has been the deeply personal and complex journey involving her only child, Isaac Theo Adu. Born Michaelia Ela Adu in 1996, Isaac's upbringing was intensely private, shielded from public scrutiny by Sade's fiercely protective instincts as a mother. Sade raised Isaac largely away from the limelight, valuing a grounded and simple life over the trappings of fame. However, in the years that followed, Isaac's internal struggles began to surface. As he came of age, he bravely came out as transgender, embarking on a path of self-discovery, acceptance, and medical transition. While his transition was an act of courage and authenticity, it was not without emotional and psychological hurdles for both Isaac and his mother. Sade's love for her son never wavered, but the transition marked a profound emotional chapter. It required strength, understanding, and a redefinition of maternal bonds. As with many parents of transgender children, Sade experienced grief, not in the loss of love, but in the complex process of adjusting to change, letting go of expectations and embracing a new reality. The transition also invited public scrutiny once it became known, and though Sade remained silent publicly, the weight of navigating such an intimate family matter in a world that is not always kind must have been deeply painful. Through it all, Sade remained a pillar of unconditional love. In 2019, Isaac publicly thanked his mother via Instagram for her unwavering support during his recovery from gender confirmation surgery. In a heartfelt message, he wrote, "Thank you for fighting with me to complete the man I am. Thank you for your encouragement when things are hard, for the love you give me." These words, brief but brimming with sincerity, offered a rare glimpse into the deep emotional terrain that both mother and son had traveled. Beyond this personal sorrow, Sade has also dealt with the isolation that comes with fame and introversion. She has spoken little about romantic heartbreaks, the collapse of her short-lived marriage, and the sacrifices she made as a mother and artist. There is also the ongoing weight of being misunderstood, of being dubbed a recluse, when in truth she is merely a private individual who values emotional integrity over public exposure. The pain of loss, change, and internal struggle has always echoed subtly in Sade's music. Her melancholic ballads, filled with longing and tenderness, are often interpreted as reflections of her own life experiences. Yet it is perhaps this sorrow, and her refusal to exploit it for fame, that makes her so revered. She transforms personal pain into universal poetry, allowing listeners to find solace in her sound. In facing her greatest sorrow with such grace and quiet fortitude, Sade exemplifies not only the strength of a mother's love, but the emotional depth of an artist who has always channeled truth into beauty. Her journey, marked by empathy, compassion, and resilience, remains one of the most quietly powerful narratives in music history.